and how Jefferson and his comrades dealt with the matter would always be a necessary part of any complete recounting of Jefferson's life story, even if the charges were written of to be dismissed out of hand. That Jefferson's family weighed in on the question also assured its continued vitality. The claim of Jefferson's grandchildren, Thomas Jefferson Randolph and Ellen Randolph Coolidge, that one or the other of Jefferson's nephews, Peter and Samuel Carr, fathered the Hemings children, became an important part of the historical record, providing an antidote to the Hemings story. The memoirs of Madison Hemings and Israel Jefferson presented a strong, if much too neglected, counterstory to the Randolph family narrative. There was enough in all of this to constantly fuel the public's general interest in the subject. Through it all, the question hung in the air: did he or didn't he? When this book first appeared in 1997, to the chagrin of some and no doubt to the relief of others, I stated firmly that the book was not primarily directed toward answering that question, although for many readers and reviewers that was its indirect result. The more important feature of the Jefferson-Hemings debate, I believed, was what it said about the views of Americans, and it must be said some white Americans, about the proper relationship between blacks and whites. This was not just on the sexual front, not even mainly on the sexual front, but in terms of the proper power relationship between the two groups overall. The treatment of the story well into modern times is evidence of the continuing grip that the doctrine of white supremacy has on American society. The historiography displays carelessness with the lives of enslaved men and women, disrespect for the sensibilities of their descendants, and a concomitant willingness to safeguard the interests of those who held blacks in bondage, sometimes at the cost of all reason. The picture that emerged from this, for me, revealed the ways in which our distorted racial values, set down in the time of slavery, promote and protect error, irrationality, and unfairness. As if we had fallen through the looking-glass, the chief purveyors of the distortion presented themselves, and were accepted, as models of accuracy, rationality, and fairness. In what universe could the humanity, family integrity, and honor of slave owners count for more than the humanity, family integrity, and honor of slaves? We know one answer to this because that universe existed on the American continent for over 2.5 centuries. Although we can attempt to put ourselves in the minds of those who resided comfortably in that place to try to understand and explain their ways, we do not have to stay there when we assess the meaning and import of information gathered from that time. Sally Hemings and her children may have meant nothing to most white Virginians of their day. We are not required to act as if they mean nothing to us. In fact, we are in a very good position to calibrate the balance of competing interests that existed during that morally compromised era. The process of doing just that has been proceeding very rapidly over the past 3 decades, as more diverse perspectives on slavery have been offered to breathe new life into our understanding of that institution. For reasons that will become apparent, the Jefferson-Hemings question has stubbornly resisted revision. With things as they stood, I knew the cup would be passed to scientists to resolve the issue. Although I thought this would happen in the first decade of the next century, when the human genome is mapped to completion, I had confidence that the increasing sophistication of genetic research would make exhuming Jefferson, which would never happen anyway, unnecessary. Once we got to that point, surely someone would get the idea, and have the money and wherewithal to test descendants of Jeffersons, Hemingses, Carrs, and Woodsons to see what, if any, relationships existed between them. When that happened, the documentary evidence as presented in this book could be blended with the science to make the truth of a relationship between Jefferson and Hemings real in a way that had never been established in history. This came to pass when Dr. Eugene Foster, a retired professor of pathology, working with scientists at the universities of Oxford, Leicester, and Leiden, devised a test based upon the fact that the Y chromosome in males passes down from father to son virtually intact. Dr. Foster gathered blood from a male-line descendant of Eston Hemings and male-line descendants of Thomas Woodson, whose family believes they are descended from Jefferson.